Hey everybody, welcome into Rock Painting 101, where we give you fun, new rock painting ideas that anybody can create. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you do, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Let's get painting.
So I made these two name rocks for a couple of my nieces slash cousins when they came in town. And lucky for you guys, I decided to record it. It's kind of nice to see the letters come together, and I did this really fun kind of drop shadow behind the lettering that really kind of made them pop. So I just started off with making kind of a base coat of the color of their choice. Red takes 2 layers, so I'm drying well in between. When you're using a blow dryer, use it on a cool setting if you have that available, so your rock doesn't get super hot. And then I'm going through and just laying down my second layer of the red. I did a second rock that's purple as well, and I'm gonna toggle between the two of them here. So once your paint is nice and dry, I'm just gonna start with a pencil to lightly draw on the name that I'm creating with a simple lettering style. I'm going to add some flair and some extra thickness to the lines as I go along. This is a lot easier for me. I'm not super trained in hand lettering, and when I do this style, I'm able to get that hand lettering look without all of the special brushes and things like that. Next on the lettering, we're going to start by just tracing over our pencil marks. I'm using the Posca 1MR for this. Now my rock is a little bumpy, so I'm taking my time. I'm not using a lot of pressure. If you have the regular 1M pens, that works as well, or other brands of extra fine tip black pens work just fine. Just make sure you're using a very light touch. And the 1MR has a slightly different tip than the 1M pens. The 1M pens, you may want to go at a slight angle. That helps from them splattering when you hit little bumps and divots on your rock. I rather just kind of glide right over the top. You can always go back and add a little bit of black paint into any indents in your rock that you may kind of graze over the top of. You just don't want to have to do a lot of pressure. As you'll see, I'm kind of ended up going off of my color. We're going to go back and add more color afterwards, so this really isn't that big of a deal. But as you can see, I lined the entire thing along my pencil lines first. So now that we've gotten our letters down, we're going to start giving them some definition. So the way that I like to go about this is I start with any strokes that maybe I would deem to be a downward stroke. So if you were to do this in cursive, you do that curl up and then come down the end on the left hand side. You'd come back up, then you'd go down the diagonal as well. The upward on the end would stay thin. So same with the A, you would curl down into the left, so that left side of the A is going to be a little bit thicker, and then the downward stroke to the right is thicker as well. So just work your way across your lettering, thickening up. A lot of times it ends up being the left side of a lot of the letters. You can look at some lettering fonts and things online as reference for this as well, but the thickness on parts of the letter really give it a much prettier hand lettering look to it. As you can see with this word, I already went and stretched my background out and around the lettering. On the second one, I did it after. So just whenever you realize or take the time to do it works. It just makes it better for doing the shading at the end if your lettering isn't going over the coloring that much, although you'll see that I still have a spot where it does that as well. Next is time to add our shadow. So I'm going to be working with that same black paint pen, and I've got a little bit of water and a paintbrush back here. So I'm just going to dab on some paint pen lines, and while it's still wet, my paintbrush is just barely damp. You're going to start to manipulate the paint that you place down with your paint pen to create this shadow, and you want to try hard not to get up onto your red. If you do a little bit, we're going to go back and touch up at the end, but as little as possible just saves you time at the end of the project touching up. But you're just going to take and you're going to move that black along the edge, and you're just going to alternate between paint pen and your paintbrush. So just kind of dab along You want to use as little water as possible to start to get the paint moving. If you use too much water, it will just kind of wash away completely, and then you're just going to have to do a second layer, which is fine. And I will show halfway in between, after you work your way around your rock, you let it dry and you'll be able to see how much of your shadow is left behind. Sometimes it will be really dark, and sometimes you'll have to go back in and add more. So I'm going to work my way around this design. You can see me now blow drying it off. And then I'm going to show you on the darker stone as well. When I dry it off, I needed to go back and add a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing here. So once it's dried off, go back anywhere you want to make that shadow darker. It's easier to layer it up than to put it on super thick at the beginning, because then you might end up with this really harsh shadow, which isn't very pleasant. Once you're happy with the shadow, go along with your base coat color and clean up anywhere that black maybe came over onto your top color, and touch up anywhere where you see rock coming through as well. You want that to be a nice crisp edge of color, which really pushes the shadow back behind your name. And then you can also go in with your black along your name rock as well and touch up anywhere that you need to crisp up the lines for the actual name on the stone. I did use my Duraclear to seal these stones. I do have some tips as far as how to make sure your paint pens don't run or anything with this. It really did help that shadow pop, but unfortunately I didn't get a picture of them completely done before they left to head home. So these two pre-sealed images are just gonna have to do. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you do. Let me know in the comments anything new you'd like to see on the channel, and we'll be back soon with another easy rock painting tutorial. Bye-bye.